You've seen this house before. In books, in horror movies, on late-night TV shows. For decades, it's been called America's most haunted home, a place of demons, curses, and endless fear. But behind the legend lies something else. What does this house really hide? Why did it earn such a dark reputation? Our story begins with the Lutz family. George, 28 years old, a land surveyor, newly married, building a new life. Kathy, 30, a devoted mother. Their children, Daniel, 9, Christopher, 7, and Missy, just 5. December 1975. They moved into their new home. 6 bedrooms, a quiet street, and a price far lower than expected. For the Lutz family, it felt like a blessing. At first, everything was perfect. Boxes unpacked, a Christmas tree glowing in the corner, a new beginning. But soon, something wasn't right. Doors slammed on their own. Rooms filled with swarms of flies in the middle of winter. Kathy felt drained, almost crushed by an invisible weight. One night, she swore she was pinned to the floor, unable to move. And George began waking at the exact same time every night. 3:15 a.m. A strange, heavy hour. The kind of moment when the whole house seemed to hold its breath. Then came Missy. She began speaking to someone only she could see. At first, her parents thought it was just a game. But Missy gave her new friend a name. Jody. A pig with glowing red eyes staring through her bedroom window at night. The dream was unraveling. George grew irritable, distant, as if the house itself had taken hold of him. Kathy prayed, but her prayers felt unanswered. And on the 28th night, they left. Furniture still inside, clothes still hanging. The house abandoned. 28 days, and a story that would outlive them all. But to understand why the Lutz story carried so much weight, we need to step back. Just 1 year earlier, November 13th, 1974, Ocean Avenue, Amityville, a quiet street where the loudest sound at night was the wind across the bay. Inside number 112 lived the DeFeo family. Ronald Sr., the father, strict, short-tempered. Louise, the mother, softer, holding the family together. Their children, Dawn, 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, John, 9, and the oldest son, Ronald Jr., 23, known as Butch. That night, Butch picked up his father's rifle. Room by room, he murdered them all. 6 lives ended in a single night. When police arrived, they found the bodies face down in their beds. No struggle, no cries for help. And neighbors swore they heard nothing, though the rifle was loud enough to wake the whole street. The next day, Ronald DeFeo Jr. was arrested, tried, convicted, life in prison. Or Amityville. The murders left a scar that never healed. Because when a house swallows that much blood, it's never just a house again. So is this what haunted the Lutz family? Spirits of the dead, restless and vengeful? Or something else entirely? This is where the true story of Amityville begins, with one man, William Weber, defense attorney for Ronald DeFeo Jr., the man who tried and failed to save his client from prison. But Weber wasn't finished. He saw an opportunity. If the murders could be tied to something supernatural, maybe the case could reopen. At the same time, George and Kathy Lutz were drowning in debt. Their dream home had become unbearable. So one night, they sat together, a table, a bottle of wine, and an idea. They talked, they imagined, and they built a story. Green slime dripping from the walls, a crucifix spinning upside down, a pig with glowing eyes staring through the window. 3:15 in the morning. Piece by piece, myth by myth, they created what would become the Amityville Horror. Weber admitted it later. These weren't experiences, they were inventions. For him, it was strategy. For the Lutz family, survival. And for the world, a horror story that would last for decades. And years later, the truth was confirmed, not by rumors, not by witnesses, but by ink on paper. In 1976, Ronald DeFeo Jr. signed away the rights to his story. In return, he demanded royalties, 5% of the first million, 4% of the next, 3% of everything after. In 1980, Weber himself wrote that the Lutzes hadn't even paid their share. And soon after, DeFeo signed again, granting his name, his likeness. His entire story for the movies, the ghosts of Amityville, were never spirits. They were contracts. They were signatures. They were deals. So what remains? Not demons, not curses, just human nature, chasing money, attention, and escape. The Amityville Horror is not a ghost story. It's a story about people. Because myths can bury the truth, but only if we stop digging.